What's going on, everybody? This is Randall Barnes, the founder of HBCU Pulse and host of HBCU Pulse Radio, in the building for our final recap of College Hill Celebrity Edition Season 3 at the great Xavier University of Louisiana, one of the best HBCUs in the nation, top 10 HBCU, doing their thing. But I don't know if College Hill Season 3 really did too much for me. And we'll talk about it in a second. I have Kai Winbush Robinson in the building, HBCU Pulse and Clutch Points writer. How you doing today?
I'm good, Randall. How are you?
I'm disappointed. I'm very, very disappointed in this season. I'm disappointed.
I can see that. Because it just, what the girl said, it wasn't giving what it's supposed to be given. Like, it never gave, But, we're here.
Yeah. We're here. We watched it. People watched us. Like, we had an episode that got a bunch of views, and then it was downhill after that one. Tell you that much. Like, it was like we can watch that one. We might come back later. But I'll just say this about College of Celebrity Edition Season 3. It was good for what it was, and it had really good moments. I did my recap on it on Clutch Points and the HBCU Pulse about how this season gave me my 3 favorite cast members probably out of the whole entire show. Because for me, coming into this, I identified with Parker because I watched All My Wife and Kids, and she's around our age. And same thing with India Love. I wasn't as familiar with India Love, and my knowledge of her was sort of tainted by things that I've seen and heard. But seeing her really grapple with, her mental health journey and her struggles for like public speaking and sort of her self-validation, how she played that out on camera, I really took a liking to her. And also Dream Doll as well. I didn't know that I would really like Dream Doll, but the depiction of Dream Doll in season 1, I really took to. So like, those are just a few of my favorite people. But Carlos, who I already was a fan of, Claudia, who I already was a fan of, and then Angela, who like, I always sort of liked Angela. I wouldn't say I was necessarily a fan, but I always liked her. And just seeing her shed the Black China persona and become Angela White, I think that it was really endearing. So, I mean, those were some good elements. And I think that there were portions of the show that were very entertaining, that were very intriguing. And I give more reverence to the homelessness conversation only because we saw Carlos sort of change his stance and his tone and tenor with new information. Because you can feel the way that you feel, but how demonstrative he was and how disrespectful he was a little bit too much. But it was so much Saucy Santana, and I know that that's the stick for me now. Like, I go in on Saucy, but I really think he took away from what would have been, at the very least, a solid season that would have been reminiscent of season 1, just real laid back, real cool. You got like Tamar Braxton, we know Tamar. You got Carlos, we know Carlos. Got Claudia, we know Claudia. Just real like cool folks. Just a real cool vibe, and they're learning the school thing. And then we see some other things outside of school, but I think that Saucy Santana and him never caring and him clearly not graduating, he never was going to graduate. Like that's something that took away from this season for me. So I enjoyed it for what it was, but I just think even from an entertainment aspect, not even looking too deep into it, from an entertainment aspect, like I said a few episodes ago, it was a chore to watch at some points.
Yeah, because it's like nothing's really happening. It's kind of like the same thing over and over again. And it's just like every episode, it was just like, okay, we're doing this again, and then we're doing this. And then it's like, it was very predictable. Like, because like you said, down to like Saucy and how he was acting, it just like nothing really like travel outside of that. It's kind of like like what have you ever seen SpongeBob in that one episode where Squidward moves to a town full of like other squids and he does the same thing every day? That's how I felt watching this. It was like I was watching the same thing. They're going to class, they're struggling with an assignment, they're complaining about the assignment, Saucy not going to class, and then at the end, maybe there might be a argument between someone in the house. That's it.
And that someone, like one of the someones would be Saucy. One of them.
Yeah.
Like, one of the variables in the argument will be Saucy Santana, as we saw in this episode. Like, I hope that for the sake of this season, and I don't fully remember, it's been a lot that has happened between June 2023 and now August 2024. So it's been over a year. So I cannot remember. I have a pretty good memory, but I cannot remember everything that I said about College Show season 2. It probably wasn't that favorable. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't a big fan of the fight. But listen, it made me some money, got us some views. It was what it was. I think I brought some context to it. But I think that for me, after experiencing these 3 seasons and now being over, season 2 probably was my favorite. I wasn't a fan of the fight. I wasn't a fan of how Jocelyn was acting. I wasn't a fan of the fact that like you had these older celebrities acting like they were like 8, 9-year-old children skipping class. But it just was more intriguing. If we're talking about from an HBCU element, Alabama State was my favorite season because it seemed as if we got more of the HBCU experience from the academic side to the co-curricular side with the different activities and being a part of Magic City Classic and it being during the football season, right? But I just say even just the vibe of it in the cast, you have I believe 8 people because Ray J came in, so you had 2 more people, and you had younger cast members that weren't that far removed from what is that normal college age. I think that lent it to me being more intriguing and being more interesting. But I don't know if 2 years from now, Kaya, if I will even remember season 3. Honestly, don't know. I really don't.
Like nothing was like memorable about the season. Like there was like even down to like Carlos and like his homelessness, like how he like spoke on the topic. Yeah, that was like a big thing, but that was like a big thing like in the moment, if that makes sense. Whereas like we can clearly see that Jocelyn and Amber's fight is still being talked about way after. And especially now, like with everything going on and like, you know, Amber Rose like coming out with like her political beliefs and everything. But there was nothing like really interesting about the season. And I've seen clips of the other seasons. I just haven't watched them like all the way through. But yeah, this one was kind of, I don't want to say boring, but a little lackluster.
Yeah, I wouldn't say boring either. I would just say it was missing something. I guess like if you're cooking,
Yeah.
it's missing seasoning. You know, I don't know. Like,
yeah, too much sauce. It was too much sauce.
Yeah, too much sauce. There you go. Too much sauce. Yeah. Too much sauce. The sauce was watery. Okay, you know when it's when
it wasn't thick. It wasn't no roux. It wasn't no roux.
So I'll start here. I guess we got to start here, right? So Saucy Santana, he gets the consequences of his actions. He does not graduate. Did they even make this dramatic? I'll be like, why they make it so dramatic? They didn't, because like it typically in life when you go to school, okay, like when you're in kindergarten, all right, when you're in 2nd or 3rd grade, if you don't go to class, you're not going to the next grade. And if you're getting F's,
it's like a truancy.
Truancy.
Matter of fact, you're going to jail.
Yeah, if you don't go to class, right, and there is a professor that literally met you in the midterm evaluation, there ain't no coming back from that. You're not coming back from that.
Yeah, she had like, it's crazy that at the end she had like absolutely like no grace. I mean, you didn't step into the class not one time.
Not one time. And the way that the season was cut up was weird because I guess maybe extra credit, I guess, and maybe it's my perception of it. That's weird and not how it was edited, because maybe they were saying, hey, my class is over, the final exam is over, but you can get extra credit to get at the very least a C, and he still didn't do that. So maybe that's what happened, and my perception might be off when it comes to it. But it just seemed like there were just elements of it. We didn't see a lot of the music class. We saw a lot of Dr. Frazier because that was where a lot of the contention was, but we didn't see a lot of the other classes. And we saw a bit of philosophy. We saw the debate for the midterm, but it just seemed as if the full breadth of like the collegiate experience that we saw from other seasons and the variance of professors and classes, it just seemed as if we didn't see it. And with Saucy, like I would have assumed that they had, because Dr. Frazier, I guess Dr. Frazier, his final exam was a B. Saucy got a B. He shouldn't have got a B, to be honest with you. He should not have gotten a B. But like, just
because he wasn't there before the bed. So
yeah, he wasn't there. So,
but you know, I digress.
Yeah, so I don't get how he would have gotten it. And he went to sleep in class. I don't know how he got a B, but like,
yes,
snoring. But like, my thing is that it just seemed to me like he was never going to pass. If you look through the whole
Yeah.
entire season, there was nothing that tells you, oh, he's going to pass. He's going to turn this around.
Yeah.
There's no redemption story here because for regular non-celebrity, traditional or non-traditional students, because let somebody dad enroll at a school and not come, like to a couple classes, or someone's mama or someone's aunt, like go up there, they 40, 50, they don't come. That school, no matter what it is going to withdraw you. You've withdrawn from the classes. Am I wrong? Is that just Fort Valley, or am I wrong?
No, that's BSU too. They quick to put you on academic probation. Quick. They give you a warning. They say get your act together or you're out by 5. Like, but I tell you, VSU, I love my HBCU down, but they do not play.
And
when it comes to that kind of stuff, they said you trust you will be dealt with. And that means you're going home. Mm-hmm.
I just that's my thing with Saucy. Like for me, I just think he made a mockery of the college experience, and I think in a way the HBCU experience. And this is my first time really saying this about this ideation of College Hill, because I wouldn't even say, and I know people would disagree with this sentiment, but I wouldn't even say that the Jocelyn Amber fight was a mockery of the HBCU experience more than it was sort of the summation of the feelings that are stirred up when you're really learning your history. So like Alabama State wasn't the reason why that fight happened, right? It was Jocelyn and Amber and that level of contention. And really it was Jocelyn pushing her, right? But like here you have Saucy Santana that was not kicked out when he was not going to class. And here's something that I saw that I've not been on Twitter because I've been, in my bag a little bit doing some other stuff. All right. But I've not been on Twitter. But I wonder if anybody noticed what I noticed at the end when they had the graduation and they're celebrating all the different things. And at the end of the episode, they have this final screen of like the Xavier, like I don't know, it's like an entrance. That's like one of their iconic spots on campus. And you see all of the cast members and they all have on the gown and they throw the cap in the air. And you see Saucy with the gown and the cap in the air. Why? Okay.
They said we're not going to refilm that. They said just close your eyes. Just close your eyes. Just close your eyes. Y'all know you didn't graduate. Just close your eyes. We ain't had this last episode was due at 11:59. It's already 11:58.5. Let's just turn this in. Because I peeped that when like I had turned the episode on. Because if you look, like if you're on BET Plus and you see the thumbnail for the episode, is that exact shot. And I said, I know he's not graduating. But then we watch the episode, we see that he's not graduating. So they were just like, okay, you guys know he doesn't graduate. Let's just keep this here. And the way he reacted to like him being kicked out, not even to him being kicked out, his like article for like Nick not being in the paper, and Nick is sitting here like, you've never turned it in. So how are they gonna put something in the paper that you never turned in? And then the way he reacted, TP in the house breaking glasses, I'm like, how old are you? And they're like, oh, well, Saucy is like the youngest in the house. Sir, you're 29. You are 29 years old. No shade, no tea. I'm a substitute teacher. I've had better behavior from preschoolers and kindergartners. You're almost 30 years old, and you sitting here throwing a hissy fit about something. You wanted the recognition. You didn't want to do the work. But think about it, like Nick said, you never like physically turned in the article. So how could they put that in the newspaper?
Yeah, and I want to talk about that. I appreciate you bringing that up. So Claudia says in her confessional that one of the problems that Saucy dealt with is that he was one of the youngest in the house and he didn't really need the college experience. I agree with that second part. And she said that earlier. I don't know if that was the same confessional, but she said that earlier in, I think, a couple, 2-3 episodes ago, around the time of midterms. But I want to just make this point when it comes to, he's the youngest person in the house. Because from what Google says, he is 30 now. He might have been 29 in February, because this is when it was filmed. So I push back on he's young, so that's why he wasn't focused. Because let's go through college show history for Celebrity Edition. Parker McKenna Posey was 27. Dream Doll at the time of filming was 29. India Love was 25. Quay was 31. All right. I just went with those few because they were either younger or in the same age range of Saucy at the time of filming and now. They all graduated and had a rather good experience on this show. And I believe Quay, either he got valedictorian or he graduated. No, I think he got valedictorian, as a matter of fact. But I think that Parker graduated with honors. And India struggled. Dream Doll struggled a little bit, but they graduated. So the youth thing, and it irks me when folks surmise action for youth. Sometimes it's just how people are, because you can be 50, 60 years old and act what we would deem to be childish, or you can be 20, 30, 25, 26 and be quote unquote mature. I honestly hate that in life, that, oh, they're young, this and that. No, like his age is not the reason why Saucy Santana was acting like that. He thought this was love of hip hop, and that same type of performance would do well here, and he never cared because there was no other passion and no other fulfillment for him to be here. There was nothing he was trying to fulfill, a goal he was trying to fulfill, or someone he was trying to put on for. Carlos wanted to represent for his kids. We saw Claudia had a family thing, and she really wanted to be valedictorian, and she teared up because one of her family members passed away, and she would have wanted to see her achieve like that. We know Angela, that was a personal motivation. We know that Tamar was there because the rest of her sisters went to an HBCU in Bowie, and she wanted to also have the HBCU experience, and now she's proud of it because she did. There was a motivation for every single one of them. Same thing with Nick. For every single one of them except Saucy. And I think it showed.
Yeah, he was just there for the vibes. He was just there for the vibes. He was like, you know what? I'm just going. No, what did he say? He was like, y'all was in. He was like, I was in my looks. Y'all was in y'all books. Y'all was in y'all bag. I was in my break-in. I was like, I was like, okay, like you still like put on this show. Like, come on. Like you just did nothing, like absolutely nothing.
And he thought it was. I wonder. A part of me wonders from the reaction, not the TP in the house thing, but when he actually got the letter, I wonder if he really was like, oh dang, I actually didn't make it. I wonder. Do you think he actually was distraught for real?
No, I don't think so. Because he was like, because you can't sit here and say like you didn't expect like yourself not to graduate because you put in literally like no effort at any point in time. Like, 'cause we have a whole professor who's never like you've never stepped foot in her class.
Never stuff like that. That
Never
is.
stepped foot in her class. So you really think you're gonna graduate doing that?
I just.
I don't think so. If that was that simple, listen. If it was that simple, like
But we don't want it to be that simple. Like I think that when it comes to college and when it comes to school, and we talked about it at points here, right? We like when it's college, outside of your core classes, do you, and I understand these are celebrities, but do you really want it to be that simple where you can just not come and pass? Because I know that it was certain times at Fort Valley. I'm not going to call out professors' names for this, right? But it was sometimes I'm like, I actually want to go to class, especially when I was in my major class, because it's like, I want to be the best media personality that I possibly can. And especially around like 2018, when it was my junior year. And I'm like, man, like I want to really lock in because I graduated fall 2019. So I'm like, I want to lock in on graduating. I don't want to play around all this different stuff. I gotta build up HBCU polls. I gotta make sure if that don't work, I'm employable. I gotta get these internships, all these different things. So it was certain points where it's not like, oh, I'm just gonna go lay down. No, like, where's this professor at? Like, because I'm ready. Like, no, let's go, because I know that January 2020, I know COVID would happen, but January 2020, I got in the bag. You know what I mean?
Yeah, COVID was a big surprise, but like no, but I definitely understand because like my last semester, like I graduated in the fall too. I was basically like done. And my schedule, I think I had maybe 12 credits, 12, 15 credits, and I was like, I want to boost my GPA, so I took on another class on purpose. And I was like, why? You're basically done. I was like, no, like I want to take another class. So I was looking for classes to take, and I saw my friend's Instagram story, and he was in like this class, and the teacher was in there playing the saxophone. I said, "What class are you in?" And the teacher looked like he was like this bald man. And he had like a Casey and JoJo like gold hoop earring, and he was in there playing the saxophone. It's the first week of class. I said, "What class is that?" And he said, "Oh, this is Blacks in American Music with Mr. Gates." I said, "Yeah, let me get in there." And when I tell you, that was honestly one of the best classes I've ever had. And the way like he taught the class, it really gave more of like African American history versus music. Yeah, there were some musical elements in there, but we learned so much about Black history, like dating all the way back to slavery, and then just like, you know, the origins of like Black music as far as like dating all the way back to Africa. And he made the class such an enjoyable, like so enjoyable, that I'm so glad that I was able to have him as professor and to just like be there. But that's because I wanted to. Like I didn't have to take another class. I wanted to because I had an academic goal as far as like my vision for my GPA. Like that class, I finished with the end of class and like it boosted my GPA like I wanted to, but I ended up learning so much. So, like you said, you have to go in with the mindset. You have to go in like knowing that you want to do something. Like I said, Saucy was there for the vibes. He was just there for the vibes, and I think because on Love and Hip Hop, that's all that is too. Like, there's what's the goal? Like, honestly, no shade to like Love and Hip Hop and those who watch it, but there's no like end goal on the show like that. You're just sitting here just videotaping people's lives. Like, you're really just here for the vibes because there's no agenda, there's no goal. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but even like with the cast that are on Love and Hip Hop, you'll be like, oh, you already know who it is. I'm in the studio. It's been 5 seasons and you still on Love and Hip Hop.
The money.
Where's this studio you speak of?
I mean, but I think
Where's the
that
studio?
I think that when it comes to like a vehicle such as Love and Hip Hop, I think that the motivation at the very least would be money and a level of fame, because I know that Love and Hip Hop opened the door for like even like a Jocelyn, like a lot of folks that might not have obtained it, at least before TikTok and the boom of social media and definitely social video. Love and Hip Hop, especially in the early 2010s, was a vehicle for a lot of folks that might not have gotten that same look, or maybe they might have been in the industry, but they weren't like top billing, like, hey, that's Jocelyn Hernandez, that's Mimi, that's so-and-so, right? So, or that's Rashida or whoever. Like, I think that motivation of money and clout is one thing, but when you're on a show that is avowedly about college, and the notion of the whole entire show that ties this thing together, that's the reason why we're here, is that you're going to college. I think that now it then becomes a different motivation that you have to tap into, because there's no one in that house, not a single solitary person in that house for season 3. And I would say the same thing for season 2 and season 1. There's no one in that house that necessarily needed that degree from a monetary, hey, I want to level up in my job, my career, XYZ. Because even if it was like, well, hey, Carlos, let's say Carlos wants to obtain his master's and he wants to learn more about film production because he wants to start his own studio. That's one thing, but that's not what this show is about. It's a fast track program to basically get what is the replacement for your master's, right? So it's not like, oh, I'm gonna go to this grad school program and I'm gonna learn about film. I'm gonna learn about so-and-so. That's not what this is. So this is the summation of a non-traditional student's journey through the traditional college experience, through some social elements and a bunch of academic elements in a month time span. So that same motivation, you might be getting money, but the work that you're doing on this show ain't the same work that you're doing on college on Love and Hip Hop, because on Love and Hip Hop, you're there to entertain people. You're there to bring the people back. You're there to cause conversation from the audience. You're not there to do homework and turn it in by 11:59. That's the difference. And I think that's the brilliant thing about this show. But to pivot it back to what you were saying about desire, I think that at the same time, can we bring people to this show that want to
Who
be a part
actually
of
want
this
to
experience?
learn? Who actually wants
Yes.
to learn something? Yeah, I'm a firm believer in you're never too old to like learn anything. Um, granted, I'm not old. I'm only 25. You know, very young in turn. But I'm someone who loves to learn. So it's like I'm never gonna close myself off to knowledge because you never know when you can like use those skills and transfer them into another setting. Because honestly, if I was closed off to trying new things, we would not be doing this. Because I wasn't a writer. Like I'm very much a much better conversationalist than I feel like I am a writer. So if I went in there with that mindset, like, oh hey, like I don't want to write, even though it was new for me, we wouldn't be sitting here doing this. But that's me because I have a desire to learn. I always want to learn something new, whether it's in my field or not. So I definitely agree for next season that they should bring in people who A want to learn and B who are willing to lock in for a month. And honestly, when you think about that, it's honestly kind of sad that you can't lock in for a month. It's a month. It's not what we have like 4 or 5 months, like a semester. Like it's really a month. It's already August.
But but I'll say this though. I would say that the month becomes a drawback because of the level of work. And that's why I say that I wonder if there's a conversation. Because even outside of just watching the season, you might not understand that, hey, oh, this is actually a lot of work. You might think they just talking, but then you're a part of it like, oh no, this is actually a lot of work. Is it really a conversation with the celebrity cast members that they're trying to bring on of this is how it's going to go, this is what it is? Because like I think that there has to be a conversation because for me, here's how I look at it. Okay. And then we'll move on from Saucy finally. Okay. Here's how I look at it for hopefully for the foreseeable future, but we'll see. But I know that my viewpoint is not representative of the majority of the College Hill viewers because I look at things deep. That's just sort of how I am. And I have no choice but to because this like now this is not just me watching, just kicking it as an alum. This is my job. So I'm writing recaps, I'm covering this and it's getting views and different things like that. So this is now my job to look at it from a critical lens as much as we're looking at it from an entertainment aspect. I believe that we can make this entertaining. And I think that everybody would enjoy if you bring in celebrities that actively want to be a part of this circumstance. Because I know we're probably not representative of the rest of the College Hill audience in saying that Saucy Santana was doing too much or that he irked us or that he wasn't entertaining, he was doing too much. But I'm pretty sure on Twitter, there were folks that were saying Saucy Santana, TP in the house, he's so crazy. I'm pretty sure there were a lot of people that were like, oh, this is so funny. Saucy didn't go to class. He sleep. I'm pretty sure there was a lot of people that thought that was amusing. And there were some people that were like, this is a mockery of HBCUs. And there are folks that are sort of in the middle about it that are like, it's not necessarily like super duper bad, but it's very embarrassing for him. Yeah. And why is he around? Like that's where we are.
Yeah, that was me. I was definitely in the middle. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's like a mockery of HBCUs because honestly, there's a Saucy on every campus. There are Saucies on every campus. So it's like this honestly is like and I'm just HBCU, just college in general. There are students out there who are exactly like Saucy Santana. So it's not, I feel like it's not really a mockery in the sense that he's like intentionally trying to make HBCUs look bad. I think it's really just like as much as we would love to protect the image of our institutions, we have to understand that these are real people going to a real school. That as much as we try to shelter or hold up this image, like, oh, well, our school is this, there's some things that come along with going to schools too. So it's like, I feel like as far as Saucy is concerned, like I said, there's Saucies on every campus. I knew some Saucies when I was at Virginia State. I knew some Saucies when I was at NSU as well. So it's like, I think more so they're just like a light is just being shined on a specific type of student. Because that's real. Like, everyone, just because you go to a school don't mean you graduate. So it's kind of just like, why are you acting like that? Like I said, the whole TP and the thing just completely threw me like left, because I feel like you're too old to be doing that. For one, you're 30. You're pushing 30. Like I said, pushing P, you're pushing 30. But at the same time, you're so outraged about your article not being in the newspaper, but you didn't even turn it in on paper. You just sat there and talked. And even the girl who wrote Nick's thing was like, "What you mean? What's up? You just gonna waltz in here with your Birkin bag? No, you didn't do the assignment correctly." So this hissy fit that you're throwing is kind of like, okay, I'm bored. Like, let's move on, because this could have been avoided if you did the assignment correctly. Because even after the teacher saying you didn't turn it in, you could have said, okay, well, can I email it to you? Because you clearly were reading off of something. All you have to do is type it up and turn it in. But you can't even do that talking about something. I stayed up till 5 o'clock in the morning.
And one of the crazy part about it though is I do believe that the student that they brought on that was gonna do like the presentation for Nick was upset, because I'm pretty sure she was so ready to be on TV.
She was like,
she did not hide it. She did not hide. She
was like,
she felt away.
Hide. No, see, people always tell me like I need to fix my face. I would have been in there like, what are you talking about? Like, my face would have told her, oh, like, because he specifically asked for her help. And I feel like, and Nick was honestly, I feel like he wanted Saucy to get right so bad. Like, that's a real friend. Like, that's a real friend who wants you to be your best because they see your potential. He had faith in Saucy until the end, but Saucy gonna be Saucy, and just like, he missed the mark. Because how you gonna walk in late and then you gonna give the presentation but not turn in the actual presentation?
Yeah.
It honestly makes no sense.
And I guess I felt for that young lady, because her feeling the way she felt and sort of giving the expression that she did, because not just, oh, like that's crazy from the context of the show, but that was her time to shine. Like, she was going to, because this is going to air on BET. This is going to air on BET at some point in time this fall, probably sometime around October, or at the very least in 2025. So, like, this was her time. She's still on TV, but like, she could have got a time to speak.
You know what I'm saying? Like, she wasn't talking. She didn't get her little lines. Like, yeah, I would have been mad too, but I don't know. It just wasn't. I think the most enjoyable thing for me this episode was when like their families came. That's probably the one thing I liked a lot. But I will say, with the whole family thing, I'm really surprised that Angela invited her mom. Because if you know Tokyo Tony and you know her and Angela's past relationship, we don't call it spade and spade. Her mom is her biggest hater. So I'm really surprised that she invited her mom. But it was nice to see them like with their families. I know Tamar's mom was there. And then like I think her then fiance, I don't know if they're back together or not, but I know he was there. And then Claudia and all her friends, then Nick, his fiance and their kids, and then Carlos and his dad. Carlos and his dad are twins.
They are. That was cool.
Twins. They're twins. Like, they look just alike and they act just alike. So I really like that whole like aspect of it, because even though they have like people come and visit throughout the semester, having your family there for like your biggest like accomplishment is always like super important. But I just think that it could have been a lot better. I do feel like Saucy did take a lot away from the season, because it's kind of like, okay, we get it. He doesn't want to go to class. Like, we could be focusing on other things. So hopefully they'll kind of like switch it up for like next season, that, you know.
Yeah. And I will say this, that I thought it was going to get real bad when this happened. And I was like, oh my gosh. So when Saucy was going off, and then Carlos was like, what's going on here? And then Carlos said something, and then he said something about Carlos wearing Chucks. I'm like, Saucy, do you really want to go there with a comedian, a wilding out comedian? Like, I can't wait to show Wanda in that Frank and Wanda interview. Like, do you know Have you seen me on Wild and Out? I'm not the one you wanted with. You really wanted with Carlos. The only person that really be getting them on Wild and Out is DC, and that's really his homeboy. So he don't really be roasting them. Like, no, Saucy, no, you don't.
Yeah.
That's not what you want, sir.
Yeah.
Watch the shows on Paramount, Saucy. Love It Everybody ain't the only show on Paramount, okay? Because Wild and Out's on Paramount too. It's on MTV as well. MTV, all right? Just saying.
Yeah.
I hope that, and I said this at the end of my article, BET, we want a season 4, College of Celebrity Edition. We do. Don't bring Saucy back. Don't do it, Ray J. Don't do it.
I was thinking that. I was thinking that this is going to be his redemption. He was like, y'all already know who it is. I'm back again. No. I feel like they might do that.
They probably are.
I feel like they might do that. If this wasn't like an intentional like setup, I feel like they are. They're going to be like, if it's not next season, maybe the season after. Like, yeah, you know, I'm back. You know, last time when I was at Xavier, I wasn't taking it seriously, but now I'm locked in. Because he's not dumb, but he just doesn't have the motivation. Okay, let's be nice. He
didn't do a lot to prove me wrong. I mean, I guess not.
Like, but I feel like he has a certain level of intelligence because the way he's been able to get to where he is, like, that takes a lot of groundwork. That takes a lot of work. His motivation, just that same motivation just needs to be placed in an academic setting.
I think that you're right, because what I've learned from College of Celebrity Edition, sort of in like a funny way, but not a funny way, is that to be successful for a lot of these folks, it don't take intelligence. It takes hustle. You do not have to be smart.
It's not what you know, it's who you know.
And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes it's just opportunity. Like I look at, and this is not, because Terrence J is very intelligent, but I look at like Terrence J's story, because Terrence J goes to A&T, and this is in his book, The Wealth of My Mother's Wisdom. I'm not getting paid to say this. Go check it out. It is amazing. All right. He talks about, and I read this years ago. I bought it myself from Walmart. I was making money. Okay, when I was in high school, I was making money. I started Walmart. I went and got the book. I still got it. I was like, I'm buying this book, Terrence J. Yeah. So like, I bought the book and I read it. One of my favorite books, honestly. He talks about his childhood, and then he specifically talks about his experience in North Carolina A&T, becoming a man of Omega Psi Phi, and also running for SJ president, working at 102 Jams, all these different things. Terrence J wanted to work in the media industry, but I believe he started working at NASCAR after he graduated, which that's a great job. But it was opportunity that he took advantage of when he got on 106 in Park, because he did that twice. He went to New York and did his thing, didn't get it. He drove to Atlanta. According to Terrence J, they remembered his face, and he literally knew the lines off the top of his head because he already did the interview, and that's how he got in with BET and became the Terrence J that we know today. So sometimes it's opportunity. I know for me, I feel as if, honestly, I am an intelligent person, and I feel as if I have hustle in our work. But sometimes you have to have a level of opportunity. Like my book being published as a high schooler, that was such a level of opportunity that was me saying, hey, I don't know if this is even real, but I'm just going to go for it because I really want this to happen. Even us being here was like, wow, like I needed this in my life, and it happened. And I'm able to be on my feet and do what I'm doing now and get paid for it, and pay for it on a steady way. So like sometimes it's just opportunity, and that opportunity itself comes from the hustle. But at the same time, it don't seem like you gotta be all that smart. Okay, that's what it don't seem like.
You're absolutely right as far as like opportunities, because without a certain opportunity, it's hard for you to like get anywhere. Like people just say like, oh, all I need is like the space and opportunity. That's really like what it is. Because even like for me, like I won't say I highly doubt, but I'm pretty sure that it was easier for me to get close to Lance Gross last year at homecoming because I was with Pulse. I had a reason to be back there. Granted, I had a connection because my BSU aunties was right there, blah blah blah. And in that situation, it was an opportunity as well as a connection because I didn't have a media pass. She put me on, but I had a reason to go back there because I was with Paul. So it's like you're absolutely right. Sometimes you do need the opportunity.
But gotta say this for Angela White, I'm very proud of her.
Me
I
too.
think that her being the salutatorian is really amazing. She really wanted this. And when you look at a show like this, especially with them all being celebrities, you wonder if they took something from this experience.
Mm-hmm.
I interviewed McCall Mimi Hayes from Big Brother, and I sort of
Mm-hmm.
wish I asked her this of if she took something from the experience. She went to Texas Southern. She's a political communicator, does a lot of amazing things, has been in pageants. But when you're on a show like that, outside of the life experience, do you take something? Do you learn something from that show that you take to your life? Like when I look at like it, because you can say, for example, did Amber learn anything? Like in a real sense, not even just like joking. Did she learn anything from being on College Hill Celebrity Edition season 2 and being at Alabama State that is rich in Black history? And then she went to the Legacy Museum and she saw all of how Black people had been treated throughout history, and then said, "Well, you know what? I'm going to speak at the Republican National Convention, and I'm gonna look past the racism, the misogyny, the bigotry, the sexism that's on this side." Now, and the thing about that, like that's just an example. That's the example
Yeah.
that sort of is here, because that's what I thought when I heard her say the things she said on Twitter, and also looked at her on this stage. When you look at like someone like Amber Rose on this show, then you look at some other less extreme cases. Like, do we think that India Love really took something from her mental health experience? Do you think that Slim Thug took something from it, or Big Frida took something from it, or even Jocelyn in her brief time on the show, or Parker? But I really think, and I don't know this, but I really wonder if Angela really took something from this experience, because I don't know if it was how this was edited or this was actually what it was. But you go from that first class being in converged media, and she does not want to talk about her legacy. Then you see her in on that next assignment. She goes up and she speaks to the class. Then you see her at the end. She's more vocal. She's more open. She's more aggressive in trying to get a good grade. Then she's speaking at the church about her experience, which I think that it was brilliant what she was speaking about. I wonder, and I want to ask you if you feel the same way. Like, do you think that she really, this wasn't just a show for her? Do you think she really took from this experience?
I think she did because I feel like at the place she's in her life now, she's way past the gimmicks. She's way past doing things just because. I think that she's very serious about her journey to becoming a better version of herself or getting back to her real self. So I do think she really did take something from this experience because I feel like if she didn't, then she wouldn't have like crashed out about her grades. You know what I'm saying? Like when you really care about something and it don't go the way you want it to go, you're gonna feel a way about it. As you see Saucy, like, oh, he was feeling okay, you know what I'm saying? So I do feel like she did take something from this experience. I think this was another like notch in her belt with her saying, this is something that I can do. So from her giving her life to God, that was one thing. From her, stop using alcohol, drugs, that's another thing. So now for her to complete this program on the show, that's another thing. So it's something that's constantly reminding her that, hey, I can do this. Whatever it is I put my mind to, I can really do this and that I am doing it because once you get far enough into your journey of trying to change, you kind of sit there in the middle like, dang, like I'm really doing this. Like I'm actually like doing what I put my mind to. So I feel like she did take something. I think for her, I hope that she took from this experience is that even though she's going over like a new leaf, like she's turning over a new leaf, that Black China will always be a part of her because that's just what it is. That's how we were introduced to her. But that's not necessarily like her that's not her end all be all. You know what I'm saying? Like she has made great strides in trying to change herself for the better, which I think is honestly commendable because sometimes as adults, um, we get locked in our ways that we're just like, oh, this is how I am. So I really do commend her for wanting to make that change because change is hard, especially when you are in an industry that's so fast paced, like she said. From the videos to the cars, the money, the drugs, like there's so many things that go into the world of entertainment and more specifically like music and hip hop culture. So I really do think that she took something away from this experience. I think what I hope she took, as I was trying to say, is that it's okay to acknowledge your past, and that acknowledging your past will not stint your growth. And even though there are some things that in our past that we wish we hadn't done, they ultimately help us move to the person that we're ultimately trying to be. So I do think that if anything that as far as like taking something away from the experience, I think she would probably be like my number one person. And then like moving on to like Claudia, I feel like she was able to prove to herself that she was able to do something, not just for her, but for her aunt, which she ended up telling Carlos about. But I think, of course they did the work, but I'm really happy that they ended up being like the valedictorian in the salute because they actually like they were like locked in from the beginning of the season. So
Yeah, and it was just so clear that Claudia was going to be the valedictorian because, like, when you look at Claudia, Claudia has been in the media industry for, at the very least, I might be underselling her at this point, 2 decades. And I know my first time really interfacing with her was in the mid 2000s when she was on the Foxhole on Sirius satellite radio. Like this before the Sirius XM, before Sirius XM merged. This was Sirius satellite radio, and some of those clips are not just the clips, the whole shows are on YouTube. Like shout out to that channel that downloaded or kept all the episodes and put them out because that's actually history to a certain point. And like some of the things that they were talking about and they were going. It's worse than because Wild 'N Out is in a way. I'm not going to say Wild 'N Out is sanitized, but it is because it's TV. Radio at sometimes, especially when we're talking about Sirius and satellite radio, it used to get raw back in the day. Like that was the Howard Stern. Like Howard Stern really was putting his mark on it, right? So Jamie Foxx has his thing, and Claudia Jordan would be on there, and Claudia going tit for tat with like funny comedians, like comedians that were really in their comedy bag. Jamie was getting them. Kevin Hart would come in there. Like she was holding her own and sometimes was gagging like actual real life comedians. And she is not a comedian. So like that takes to me a level of wit. And I think that wit is, it goes in line with intelligence the same way that I had a feeling coming in that Carlos would do well, but just how he was acting seemed as if he didn't want to cooperate with the experience. So, and then just looking at the advocacy piece of the political side, because I'm not even just saying it because she's clearly a Democrat or she supports Democrats, but I'm just saying that her advocacy and how she speaks about these issues and how she speaks about issues that aren't avowedly political when it comes to elected officials, but about different causes that she believes in. Like she always was very sharp and very, very intelligent. That was always her brand. Now, I know people viewed her as, oh, she talks trash, she talks bad about people. That's not how I viewed her, but I've always been a fan of Claudia and I knew her level of intelligence. And I knew that she would get here because I knew that eventually her and Carlos were going to sort of be the leaders. Now, let me say this about Claudia. Should she have hidden Saucy Santana's whatever the doll? No.
Oh my gosh, where is Bianca?
In the trash.
Oh my gosh, where is Bianca?
In the trash. Like Bianca's in trash.
Yeah. As far as like the doll thing, it's kind of like a nice like little jokey joke, but and you can kind of tell that she has like this playful personality that she likes to have fun. So as far as her and like the whole Bianca thing, it was like a nice like little jokey joke. Carlos doing well is not surprising because to be a comedian, you have to be quick. You have to have a sharp tongue. And especially being on Wild 'N Out where they're like digging at each other, you have to be quick. Like you can't sit there and be like, cause then that's when they get you. So him doing well, it wasn't surprising to me, especially with him being a comedian. It was just surprising that I think what really surprised me the most was his turnaround because, like, in the first episode, we all saw how that was going. So for him to do like a complete 180 was a pleasant surprise. And then even Claudia, like I already knew that she was gonna lock in. And as far as Angela, I knew she was gonna lock in, but I had no idea that it was gonna matter to her as much as it did. Like I knew this was important to her, but this was like super important to her. So that was surprising for me. Nick, I just thought he was there. He was very much still engaged, but he's just there for the experience. I did the same thing with Tamar. She was just there for the experience, but she was there very much like engaged, and then the other person. So we're not, we don't have to get into that, but
Yeah, but I overall, I just with this college hill season, I because we didn't do the ratings of the episodes, which might have been good for BET. BET would have hated us if we rated the episodes.
yeah.
I would give this a 6.5, a 6.5 out of 10 as far as the whole entire season. And I would
Mm-hmm.
give College of Alabama State, with the information we have now, because we have the information of the fight, and we have the information of
Mm-hmm.
this season just opposed to season 2. 8 out of 10. I'll give Texas Southern a 7 out of 10 with an asterisk because it could be higher, but it was still during COVID. So, and it was also in, I believe they filmed that sometime in like the winter, maybe of like 22, I believe, around that time. So
Mm-hmm.
I can understand that it didn't feel the way that these two seasons did because COVID was sort of holding it back from the student experience. But I just, this is a season 3 discussion, but I would just say that I want to see more College Hill Celebrity Edition spinoffs or seasons of this spinoff that are more reminiscent of Alabama State. What did the Alabama State season had? It had avowed Black history. You might not need to have that if you don't want to, but it needs to be something that is immersive, that deals with the Black
Yeah.
experience. And they tried that with this season, but the Saucy Santana stuff
Kind of
sort of took away.
overshadowed.
Took away from it. And then I would say also like the Mardi Gras part, it just seemed like they sped past it because that was real
Yeah.
cool. But it just seemed like they glanced at it, then boom, they
And
went
then
past it. So I think that you want to center that more. Number 2, okay, Black China or Angela White, she was on the track team, and Claudia I think was on the track team too. Saucy Santana was supposed to be on the cheerleading team. Now, cheerleading team, we would give them a pass because they were going to win national championships, and they clearly were not going to do that with Saucy Santana. Okay,
they didn't have time. They didn't have time for
yeah,
Saucy.
yeah, because
They didn't have
they
time
win a
for
champion.
Saucy.
They'll win
Yeah.
champion. They don't got time to have him mess up their championship routine. But like,
Yeah.
I would have loved to have seen how Angela White and Claudia adjusted to track. I would have loved to have seen Nick more with the basketball team. We saw some of that. I think that was missing the same way that was missing in season 1. Because here's what people don't know. You can find this out on HBCU Post Radio if you look at our college library. Okay. Well, like we had my guy Dexter Maryland and Alexis Ferguson. They were SGA president and vice president at Texas Southern. And when you look at it, Slim Thug was in SGA, and they did SGA stuff that never made season 1. And that's what they said.
Oh wow.
All right. So you see what I'm saying? So that I feel like that took away from season 1 because we would have loved to have seen Slim Thug and SGA talking about different stuff.
No, literally. Because it's Slim Thug. Like, so that is like would have been like really like it's Slim like what you mean Slim Thug is a treasurer? Like what you mean? Like what do you mean by that? I would love to see this show be filmed like during homecoming season just to see how the celebrities like interact like with homecoming and everything like that. I think that'd be really cool to see. But I would honestly love, but like I said, the check gonna have to be real big and it's gonna have to clear. I would love to see like a celebrity a college show celebrity edition, but like at an all male or all female school with like an all female cast or like an all male cast. That would be so crazy. Like I said, the check to Morehouse would have to be crazy. The check to Spelman or Bennett would have to be crazy. But I would honestly love to see that because I feel like in these shows, because it's mixed company, there's going to be like different. You're gonna have different situations and different scenarios. But living with like people of the same gender all under one roof, I feel like that would be very, very interesting to see.
I don't know if BT be able to pull it off. They that because Spellman and Morehouse, like I mean, we know Morehouse ain't hurt for the money. Like they got Dr. Thomas down there. Dr. Thomas is retiring next year, but listen, he retiring with a legacy, okay? Because he didn't raise money for Morehouse,
Yeah.
so they ain't hurt for money.
He's probably gonna say, wait till after I leave. He said, wait till after I leave.
When the younger president comes in, like when we get the new generation of leadership for Morehouse, but. I think that the homecoming part is very possible because in a way, and really not even in a way, like we saw that with season 2 because like they start out, I believe that same Saturday of the Alabama State Jackson State game, the Deion Sanders and Eddie Robinson Jr. snafu that happened, and then you see them sort of interface with homecoming to Magic City Classic. I think that was like October to around Magic City. So we saw them in that football setting. I don't know how much of homecoming they really got a chance to truly experience because it seemed like they were there at homecoming for the tail end. But I think that that's something that would definitely be possible. I would just say, no shade to anybody, but you got to choose the right school. Like, because I'm just saying.
No, you definitely do got to choose the right school because you can't go nowhere in a homecoming not lit. And I also, and not just from like a social aspect, just from an academic standpoint, I feel like it'd be interesting to see how classes like during homecoming week and how whether you go into class or not impact your grades. Because you have those teachers like, oh, it's homecoming, you come in, you sign the roll, and then you're out. And then you have those teachers who just cancel class altogether. And then you have those few. I don't care if it's homecoming. I don't care if it's spring fling. I don't care if they're giving out $10 million on the lawn. You will be in class. So I think it'll just be interesting to see how, because homecoming is such a glorious time at the HBCU, and you get so caught up in what's going on that you're like, forget class. That's why people like, at least for me, I wasn't one to skip class often. Some teachers have attendance policies. I was saving my missing days for that week of homecoming because like it's so much going on. So just seeing how the celebrities will interact with homecoming during that week and going to class and getting things done. Because I've had like major assignments due during homecoming week. And as much as I would have loved to be in the yard, I had to be in class. So that'll just be an interesting thing to see too.
Yeah. And what I'll also say as well is that in line with wanting to see more of the co-curricular activities of the celebrities, if they are involved in that, I want to see them interact a little bit more with the campus because you saw that season 2. I think season 2, subtract the fight because the fight, it happened, it got the promotion. We saw the video, all the different stuff. Real talk, we're just going to subtract the fight because that's not why I now have more reverence for season 2 now after experiencing season 3. For me, you have the scene where you have Orion goes up to New York. They're talking to 2 freshmen, and they have that experience. You have students that came over to the house for a project. Like it just seemed to me like season 2 felt more like the college experience, and it felt as if it wasn't rushed. Like when you look at the original College Hill, and I think I've told you this before, I liked season 3 at VSU at VSU because of the fact that it felt more like college because I didn't see season 1. Season 1, you had the SGA side of it. I would have enjoyed that. But when you look at College Hill season 3, even just for the season 4 of the original series was more about the division between the LA, California cast and the Virgin Islands cast that led to that fight. But in season 3, you had the different situations that were dramatic, but it was centered in an HBCU experience, and homecoming was a part of it. So there were elements of, even from the beginning of it, you have Mr. and Miss VSU from that year going to get the cast members that were selected. Like it just felt like to me.
Yeah, that was super cute. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
It just felt like an HBCU vibe to me. And that's the same thing for the celebrity edition portion that this season had, because you saw Miss Alabama State. You saw the pageantry of football and swag football. You saw the Magic City Classic. You saw these different things. There are things that Zula does. Zula has a basketball rivalry because they don't have a football team, but Zula has a basketball rivalry with Dillard. Do we know that from this show? Did they play Dylan? Because I would have loved to have seen, hey, like this is what we do for this basketball rivalry. This is how we do basketball. These are our campus customs to be a part of. At Alabama State, we saw a little monicum of that. You know what I mean? So even just outside of the cast and even just the show itself, I just think that those elements just, to me, make the show better. And it would be better if they did that for a College Hill season 4. And I think that no matter where they go, I think if they go to the Morehouse, listen, a meteor is about to hit there. I don't see Morehouse and Spelman bringing them on. I think Bennett, maybe Bennett, but I'm not even sure about Bennett. But I think, like, it, depending on what school that they go to next, which I wonder which one. I wonder if Clark Atlanta is in it.
Where would you like for them to go? As an avid watcher of the show and a fan of the show, where would you like for them to go next?
Clark Atlanta, to me, has to be at the forefront, because that's Atlanta. That's where a lot of celebrities, when they're not on tour, where they stay. I think they have a very thriving culture. I think that there's a lot of things that they can do at a Clark Atlanta. Then you can interface with a Morehouse and Spelman, not in a direct way, but in a way that's like, hey, that's the AUC. I think Morris Brown is a sleeper as they grow. I think that's a sleeper. I think that'd be interesting.
Listen, I need Morris Brown. They're well on their way, but Morris Brown and Drummond, we need that energy back, because they were so lit. Like, they were so lit.
Hilarious. But like, I agree. I think, and now this might not happen because we're now in a transition and it's a lot going on. And I said before, this is one of my dream schools outside of Fort Valley. This was my dream school. FAMU. I can see FAMU.
I was about to say that, like, because they didn't do any. Did they do Florida schools, right? They did South Beach or something.
No, they did. So that was after, like, they stopped doing the schools. So after Virgin Islands, they stopped doing the schools, and they did Atlanta, Chicago, South Beach. So if they were to do, and then now that's a different regime. Yeah, that's a different regime now. So the regime for BET is different. The regime for FAMU is now different, like twice at this point. So now you go to that leadership and you say, hey, forget the fight, okay? Jedi mind trick them. You did not see the fight, okay? And like, that's not what we stand. That's not what we stand for. Yeah. Look at season 1. Look how boring it was.
Will Smith with the little flash.
Yeah, do the flash.
You won't remember anything.
But remember season 1, we're gonna do this at FAMU, and you can bring in a lot of, like, sort of some Florida folks. Like, I think that there are for sure some schools. Like,
in Florida I want to see. I'm trying to think. Like, I would definitely, if they do it in Florida, I would definitely love to see, like, a Florida native, like, down there. Trina would be.
Yeah.
My girl Trina. Honestly, bring Trick Daddy.
No, we're not bringing Trick Daddy. No.
If they brought Trick Daddy on College Hill, I would be in tears. Trick Daddy is so funny. But he is,
but I feel like Trina.
She got, like, a nice, like, little. It's a happy medium.
Yeah, and I feel like she would embrace it. But I mean, even Bethune, because we know that Bethune is open, at least in previous regimes, they are open to reality TV shows because they have marching orders for the band. So if you present it to them the right way, I think that maybe Bethune would be a good pick. And I know they might be iffy because of the Ed Reed stuff that happened in 2023. But I think that Bethune would be. It's a lot of different spots. You want to go back to Texas, Prairie View for sure. Yeah. I honestly would say I know Fort Valley. Okay, I got to say Fort Valley, but Albany State will be interesting. I feel like Albany State or Savannah State. I feel like one of the three Georgia schools
State would be good. I feel like Savannah State would be good.
And I think they'd enjoy Savannah State because of the beach. Because of Tybee Island, they'd enjoy Savannah State for sure. Because of Tybee Island.
As far as, like, where I am, no shade to the people across the water. I don't know. I feel like Hampton just not, like, it just, I don't know. Norfolk State would be pretty interesting because Norfolk State has a lot going on as far as, like, the campus and, like, you know, they're really good in like certain sports and everything. So I feel like Norfolk State would be good. As far as like Maryland schools, I think Morgan might be a good one. I think
Or
Morgan
Bowie.
might
I
be
think
good.
Bowie's perfect. I think Bowie's
Bowie,
perfect.
I think, oh yeah, Bowie for sure because Bowie's close to everything, so you can see them like going to DC or going to like Virginia. So I think Bowie would be good too. My
Yeah,
older sister
and
went to Bowie, and Bowie's live, so I will give
yeah,
a shout out to
oh
Bowie
yeah,
because Bowie's live for
for
sure.
sure. But I mean, there are so many HBCUs, and I think that out of the, I would say 30 to 40, maybe max 50 active HBCUs that are really active when it comes to their student life and how they interact with the world. Because there's over 100, but it's I would say it's a core 30 to 40 that really truly are active,
Hmm.
and we named a bunch of them. I think that even if they get some no's, they'll find one yes. But I
Hmm.
just think that if they wanted to work with like a Morehouse or a Howard or a Hampton, or even like I think North Carolina A&T would be a sneaky good one. But
Hmm.
it's just it's so many students. We'll see how they would do that. But my only thing would be that if I am in administration and I had any say over College Hill coming, yeah, they gotta prove to me that these celebrities are not coming to fight. I'm sorry. And you're like, oh, that's
Yeah,
entertaining. But for me, I
yeah,
at the end of the day, and this is how HBCU alumni feel. But as an administrator, I still have to protect the brand
the
of my
image.
institution.
Yeah,
So yeah, it wasn't really on Alabama State that Jocelyn and Amber started fighting, but these type of moments elevate the brand. So if we're
yeah,
bringing BET College Hill onto the campus and we're saying that you can interface with our campus, you can spotlight our professors and maybe the Mr. and the Miss, the SGA president, vice presidents, or what have you are going to be on the show in some capacity, then we're picking students to be in those classes. That's all well and good, but the end game can't be a Saucy Santana. The end game can't be
yeah,
Ray J leaving. The end game can't be
yeah,
they're fighting. Yes, that was remedied, but that can't be the depiction of what the College Hill on this campus, whatever campus it is, that can't be the
hmm,
depiction of what it is here. And now BT might get offended by that because they might be like, "You putting a lot of contingencies on this, sir." But I'll be like, "Okay, well, we school, so you just not gonna come."
yeah,
Yeah, that's has
yeah.
to be what it is to me.
Because it's kind of hard, like even down to students, because we live in a day and age where there's technology everywhere, and I've come across some of the most wildest things on social media, and I'm just like, and no shades, no tea. Some of that has been from my beloved institution, and like I see things, I'm just like, why is this on the internet? So I definitely understanding schools having a tight grip on the celebrity space because students already out here wilding and they putting it on the internet for free. And it's kind of hard to say, hey, blah blah blah. But if there's something that you're kind of like inviting to the school, then yeah, you do have to kind of have like a tighter lock on it.
Well, what I'll say is this. Here's what I will say, and I want to give the disclaimer that I know that this is a deeper process than what I'm about to say. But I think that we're 3 seasons in. It's time to bring the original College Hill concept back. And I just think, okay, I just think that if you want to curtail people acting wild on BET, maybe we should make it the student leaders. Now, granted, I'm not saying student leaders are perfect, but I'm just saying that they have more of an incentive to not get on there and act a fool. Because like, and then also BET would have to sort of be complicit. And if that campus king or queen, because we're gonna say kings too, because people forget the kings be wilding too. If the campus king or queen wilding out, or the SGA whatever is wilding out, cut it out the show. Cut it out. You don't need that because I just believe
Yeah.
that there are more entertaining things than debauchery. I have more faith in
Yeah.
people. Just personally, me.
Yeah. And I honestly feel like too, like a way it'll be much more entertaining, especially because like there's people are continuously growing and eventually someone's gonna go to school. So being able to see the king or the queen of the HBCU or the SG president of the HBCU on College Hill and you're in high school it kind of gives you an insight. Okay, so this is what they do, or blah blah blah. Even with the original college show concept, watching that show, I always knew I wanted to go to a HBCU. It was between College Hill, A Different World, and then, like I said, my older brother went to Norfolk State, and then my stepsister, she went to Bowie. So I always knew that I wanted to go to a HBCU. But I would have loved to see in the space of entertainment in a show what I could expect, not just from an academic standpoint, but me joining clubs. Because like you really don't know about the clubs and everything. And if someone in your family is Greek, you know about Greek life, but Greek life is only one component of campus. There's a bunch of like social organizations, academic organizations that you can join. So being able to see an insight of how the SU president comes up with a fundraiser or an event on campus, um or how the cues when they are get ready for like a step show, something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like seeing all those different type of things from like a student perspective. Because it's one thing for administrators to tell you how great the school is and maybe even alumni, but to get that insight from a current student and being able to see the experience, I feel like it can honestly be a great way to encourage like future generations of attending HBCUs.
Yeah, and I agree, and I think that one thing, last thing I'll say about it is that a lot of the pitches for, hey, bring back College Hill, bring back the original College Hill, it was short sighted because it's a lack of understanding about why it's not around. But what I think when it comes to bringing back College Hill is that I think that there's entertainment that does not have to concern just personally, and I've always felt this way, even as an author. I just think that you don't have to be drunk to have entertainment, or be smoked to have entertainment, or
Yeah,
even have explicit sex or sexual innuendos to have entertainment. I just think that
yeah,
the entertaining element of the college experience comes from that like the journey through there, like the journey of discovery, the especially in HBCU, the different varied experiences, the football, the basketball, the Greek life, the cheerleading, the SGA. I don't need to have a fight in the SGA meeting to go to that
yeah,
Senate meeting and know it gets contentious. As someone that was in SGA, those Senate meetings at certain points, especially when you have two warring ideas for how the school can get better and what we can do to serve the students, and none of them are necessarily wrong, but it's just two warring ideas of how to
yeah,
get to this point. That is that I'm not saying do that, but that's entertaining. Like I think that if we're looking at College Hill and we're looking at bringing back the original College Hill, or even for Celebrity Edition, can we reactualize what college is? Like that's
exactly.
all
Like,
I
yeah,
want. All I want is that college is not just the turn up. College is not just drinking. I sort of just wish that in general, and this is not on College Hill to do this, but I just wish we would rethink what college life is, because the perception
yeah,
is the freedom and the drinking and the smoking and the girls and the guys. When college,
yeah.
yes, that is a part of it. That's a small
Part,
part of it.
yeah,
It's a small part of it. And even academics is the overlapping part of it. But the experience within that, we're there to get our
yeah,
degrees, but it's something way deeper than those other things. And I'm not asking for College Hill to be a different world. I'm just asking for College Hill. If they brought back the original College Hill, or if they continue the Celebrity Edition, can we just center it in an HBCU experience that is more diverse than we need to go get drunk? We tired. Like, no. Like,
no,
like we so tired. Let's go get drunk, y'all. Like, we don't need that. Like,
bro, I felt that, but I'm just saying, being tired and getting a little drink afterwards. That's you know what I'm saying. But I definitely get what you're saying. Like making like showing all the faces of what the HBCU experience is like, because you know what I would prefer to see. You know what I want to see? I want to see someone. It's 3 in the morning. They got a project and they're sitting there crying because that's real television. You're showing something real. Because if I had to do that, I know someone out there who's still doing it. Like it's real. Like we want real. I think that's what ultimately what it is. Is like for college hill, we just want real, like authentic HBCU experiences, like because it's so like you said, it's so much more than just going to class. It's so much more than oh we tired, let's go let's go get drunk. Like there's such a beautiful thing about going to a HBCU. and it's something that you really won't understand unless you've been to one. Yeah, you can come for homecoming and see, but actually being a student on an HBCU campus is like, I don't know. It's a very transformative experience.
Like, but we're gonna see what happens with College Hill, the series, College Hill Celebrity Edition for sure. I will say that ultimately, while I do give it a 6.5 out of 10, I did enjoy the ride. I did. I did enjoy it. I enjoy the ride all the time when it comes to the College Hill. But I just, there are certain things as someone that is a fan of this show and is a fan of this whole entire franchise. I really just want it to change itself even more than it already has to fit where we are now, because I think it still will be entertaining regardless. But that is our recap and reviews for College Hill Celebrity Edition this year. I guess this year, they bring it back to do something else with it. Just don't bring Saucy back with it, okay? But just don't bring Saucy back. But Kai, where can we find you on social media, and how can we read your work?
You can read my work at clutchpoints.com, and you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, X, Pinterest, YouTube, all those at Kai on Fire.
Thank y'all for rocking with us, and make sure to continue rock. Make sure to continue rock with us. Make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed, and continue to tap in. We'll see you on the other side.
Like what you hear?
Yeah.
Subscribe to HBCU Pulse Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, head to HBCUPulse.com to stay up to date on what's going on in the HBCU community. Thank you for listening to HBCU Pulse Radio.